Okay, good morning. When the music stops, that's my cue to start talking. Or to start dancing, but you wouldn't want to see that. So welcome to my last talk, and if you're confused, if you've come to hear a talk about the masters of the universe, I did change it to this one about life on Mars, which was my backup talk, but several people said to me they prefer to hear this one, so I thought, well, why not? So I switched it. So unfortunately the patter had it down as Masters of the Universe, but I have been saying for the last several talks that it would be about life on Mars. So that is what I'm going to talk about. Okay, why is that not moving forward? It's not a good sign. Okay. Glitches, problems right at the start. See if it works off this. No, it's not moving forward, I'm afraid. Sorry about this. The slide is not advancing. What is going on? What happens if I press that? Nothing. Okay. Sorry about this. Hopefully it will be sorted out. What happened there? Oh, I pressed that one. Obviously pressed the right button. Okay, so summary of my talk. Just stick to using Macs. Summary of my talk. I'm going to give you a few facts and figures about Mars, how long it takes to go around the Sun, its distance from the Sun, that sort of thing. Then I'm going to talk about our search for life on Mars. I'll start off by talking about an Italian astronomer called Schiaparelli and his observations of what became known as canals on Mars. And then I'm going to jump forward some 60 odd years and start talking about the various space probes that we have sent to Mars. Mars is the planet that we've sent the most space probes to. Dozens, I don't know the exact number, but it is well over 50. And sadly, or amazingly, I suppose it shows how difficult space exploration is. About 50% of the space probes we have sent to Mars have failed in some way. Either they have missed the planet, or they have failed to send back signals, etc. So although it's the planet we've sent most probes to, it's also the planet where we've had most problems with sending probes to. But anyway, I'm going to go through each of these space probes. And then at the end, I'm going to talk about what are the chances of humans getting to Mars and when that might happen. First of all, there was the competition. So sadly, no one has been bold enough to enter this competition. You're all too scared to be wrong. But anyway, this was obviously a bit of fun, but there's also an astronomical reason. So let me give you the names of the weekend in Welsh. And I'll pronounce these after. So Sunday through to Saturday, those are the names of the days of the week. And now I'll show you the names of the Sun, the Moon, and the planets. And the thing I want to point out is, I said when I set this competition that the names of the reason we have 7 days in a week is because there is the Sun, the Moon, and 5 planets you can see with the naked eye. And that in, for example, French and Italian, you could see a similarity. Well, in Welsh, apart from the word for the Sun and the Moon, which are different from the word for Sunday and Monday, all the others are exactly the same. So the word for Mars is exactly the same as the word for Tuesday, except for the word for day, which is dydd. So the word for Mars is mouth, and the word for Tuesday is dydd, mouth, and the word for Mars is mouth, and so on. So now I'm going to pronounce them too. So Sunday is pronounced dydd seal, so the D-Y-D-D is pronounced as a dydd. I'm going to come back to this one because this has the most unusual sound. Dydd mawrth, dydd mercher, dydd iau, dydd gwener, and dydd sadwrn. So for the 5 naked eye planets, the word for the day and the word for the planet is exactly the same. So the word for Sunday, dydd seal, and the word for sun is hael, so they are a little bit different. And then this is the one that is most difficult to pronounce because this double L sound is almost unique to the Welsh language. As I mentioned when I set this challenge, they have found one language which is in Africa of all places that has the same sound. So it's a ll, so dydd llun, and lleuad. So even that sound doesn't exist in any of the other Celtic languages. So that's the one that is almost impossible for non-Welsh people to pronounce. But it's actually a very common sound in Welsh because Llan, L-L-A-N, means church, and there are a lot of place names that start Llan something. Any of you that follow rugby, you may have heard of the rugby team Llanelli. So anyway, that was the challenge, and I discovered when I was about 17 and reading some old Welsh text that the word for day, dydd, used to be dew, the word for God. So actually, the days of the week in Welsh are God, sun, God, moon, and so on. Because, of course, they were the gods in pagan times. The sun, the moon, and the naked eye planets were the gods in pagan times. And so the days of the week were named after them, and that's why we have 7 days in the week. So there you go, you have a bit of trivia to go away with. Okay, so in my book, the section on the solar system and the section on beyond the local group are the 2 longest sections, section 1 and section 4. When I was in Auckland, I picked up an email from the publisher, and apparently they've sold the rights to be translated into Chinese, which is nice. But they'd had an email from the translator asking why there wasn't a picture of Uranus in the section on the solar system. So, well, the reason is that Uranus is a boring planet. It just looks like a blue disk. It's of all the planets, it's the most boring in terms of its appearance. So there is no picture of Uranus, but otherwise there are pictures of all the other planets in the solar system section. So I'm going to whiz through those before I talk about Mars. Every section starts with a bit of blurb. This is a beautiful picture, actually, of a lunar eclipse, an eclipse of the moon, with the very large telescope in Chile in the foreground, and this is the Milky Way, and there's one of the Magellanic Clouds, and that is the eclipsed moon there. That's Venus. This is a beautiful image that we dug up and included. There's the sun going through its 11-year cycle. It has a cycle of sunspot activity that lasts 11 years. I'm not going to talk about each of those. This talks about the outer atmosphere of the sun called the corona. Moving on, this is Mercury, Venus. These are the images of Mars. There are a few pages of Mars, so I'll come back to those. And that's something, again, to do with Mars, so I'll talk about. This is Jupiter, obviously. Aurorae on Jupiter. One of Jupiter's moons, Io, the closest, most volcanic. Another one of Jupiter's moons, Europa. Saturn, and the surface of Titan, its largest moon. There's Titan there. That's a real picture. That's taken by the Cassini space probe. It's not an artist's impression. And this is an amazing picture, actually. This is the Earth as seen from Saturn by the Cassini space probe. So that little dot there is Earth as seen from Saturn. And that is Earth as seen from the Messenger probe when it went to Mercury. And you can actually see in this picture Earth and the Moon as 2 separate objects. It was taken from the distance of Mercury. But from the distance of Saturn, you cannot see the Moon and Earth as 2 separate objects. They're just a little dot a long, long way away. This is Enceladus.